Yes, they do. They have buyer's remorse on Stafford. Let's talk about the whole experience of buyer's remorse is when you go out there and get something, and then after acquiring such item, something makes you think about it again in terms of that purchase, right? Something makes you think about the process of acquiring that once again. And if you look at Matthew Stafford, what he's doing is something that people have to be very careful of doing in life. That is, when you have a perception of who you are, good, bad, or ugly, be careful of duplicating and replicating that same perception over and over again. And Matthew Stafford had a perception that, you know what, Matthew Stafford is good when he's good when you want him to be great, and he's not great when you need him to be good. And Matthew Stafford all of a sudden is now in that position once again. You know how I describe him? I describe him as a song that has a banging ass beat, some weak lyrics, and never charts. And that's who Matthew Stafford is to me. And that's a song that, look, I respect his game. I respect his arm talent. I don't respect the results. And I don't respect that something doesn't add up with all that talent to ultimate team success. So now Matthew Stafford finds himself reminding people of the same perception that they had of him before. The worst thing you could do is walk in a room when people already say, we already know who you are. The next thing you can do that can make that even worse than it was is remind them of the skepticism they had of you in the first place. Sorry, Matthew Stafford, but the back of that credit card, that 1-800 number, they looking at it. They trying to call for that fraud alert. What you looking at?
Why you go so hard?
What you mean?
I was going to go. I wasn't going to go that hard.
Oh, you want to go? It's my birthday, so I don't give a damn. They say when you get old, you don't trip.
Yeah, they should have buyer's remorse. I'm with you on that.
Come on.
The only way you can defend not having buyer's remorse, the only way you can look at Stafford and say, nah, we good, we made the right decision, is if you look at Jared Goff and say, well, Jared Goff isn't good, so clearly Matthew Stafford was the right decision. But then I think about it in this manner. Jelly, Sel, the condiment of jelly. It really is fairly useless unless it's paired with peanut butter.
Will you stop doing this?
It is.
A Thomas English muffin with jelly. Ain't no peanut butter on that thing. It's still crispy bang.
It don't smack, though,
It's
like
smack.
B&J.
Drums,
It's
please.
edible, but it don't smack like that.
All right, go ahead with your take.
Like jelly, as I think about a cell without peanut butter, kind of useless. But when you pair the two, they really get the job done.
Okay.
Jared Goff without Sean McVay, fairly useless. But when you paired him with Sean McVay, he was getting the job done. And so when I look at it, I'm like, the only defense of Matthew Stafford is that Jared Goff is no good. But I don't look at Jared Goff isolated. I look at Jared Goff coupled with Sean McVay. And Jared Goff with Sean McVay were doing just as much. No, they were doing more than Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay. That's what don't make sense to me.
Do you know that the Vegas line didn't switch before Matthew Stafford came and after Matthew Stafford came? 10.5 games for the Rams. With Jared Goff, they were assuming. Then you get Matthew Stafford. Vegas says, 10.5 games. Y'all ain't fooling us. Fool everyone else out there betting on this team.
I'm really looking at Stafford like maybe you are not the problem, but you're not the answer.
There you go. It's not so much you gave up too much to get less. I don't think he's less of Jared Goff. I don't think he's less than Jared Goff. I think you gave up too much to get the same.
The Rams are all in, and I have real concerns, and here's why. I think greatness is about making others around you better. And the fact that Matt Stafford never won one playoff game in Detroit, when you have one of the best receivers of all time in Calvin Johnson, that was always a big concern of mine. And in the last couple of weeks, guys, he made consequential turnovers. And when he stood toe-to-toe with Aaron Rodgers, and if I'm Stan Kroenke, Sean McVay, Les Snead, this is the moment I brought Matt Stafford in. And in those moments, he has not shown up. I wouldn't have given up 2 first-round picks. And now, I'm not a big believer in Jared Goff, but you did go to a Super Bowl with him, and I'm not convinced that Matt Stafford was worth all that.
So, people think I'm crazy, right? They think I'm crazy because when the deal was done, based on what they gave up, I said to everybody, and I told my producer, Evan, I said, Evan, he's no different than Derek Carr in Oakland. It's the same guy. Evan goes, you're crazy, you're dumb, you don't give. We both know a lot of football. I'm like, okay, whatever. They pull up the numbers. The numbers are identical throughout their career. Year for year, match for match. And I'm sitting there saying to myself, you could have went to John Gruden, who apparently didn't really love Derek Carr, and you could have said to him, I tell you what, man, I got a 2 and a 3 for you. Let me get Carr. And you could have saved yourself a whole lot of picks It's the same situation.
I'm not second guessing. I was first guessing. I just don't think for somebody that's played in this league for that long, had not accomplished zero in the offseason to give up 2 first-round picks when he's already starting to break down physically.
Well, here's the thing, too.
By the way, he is third in passing yards and second in TD touches.
Well, when you're behind all the time, you're going to be third in yards.
But don't you feel like the last 3 games? I know that
he's been in MVP contention for a lot of this season.
That's what I'm saying.
But by the way,
games, all of a sudden everybody's jumping off the ship and they're way off him now.
I was never on the ship.
That pressure now shifts back to the Rams because we feel that SC is 2 years from now will be in a national championship hunt. Will the Rams have a Super Bowl by then? I don't think so. I don't think in the next 2 seasons the Rams will have a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the NFC is too tough right now.
So my biggest contention is everybody in L.A. is like they got their Messiah. Oh, he's the missing piece. Oh, Jared Goff was garbage. Now they got a quarterback that can make every throw, and now they got their Messiah to win the Super Bowl. And I'm like, I've watched this guy. Don't act like the Lions were never in the playoffs with him, Chris. Right. They were 0-3 3 times in his 12 years in Detroit. They made the playoffs. And he didn't play that well.
4 touchdowns, 3 picks in his 3 playoff games.
Very good. Pedestrian, mediocre, whatever. Right. That's nothing to write home about. So you're starting to see, and I think people are starting to wise up a little bit, all of his bad fortune in Detroit, Chris, wasn't just about, people tried to make it wasn't him. He didn't have a coach. Well, let me see. Jim Caldwell went to the Super Bowl, didn't he, Chris?
Right.
Was Jim Caldwell a Super Bowl coach, or am I
Jim Caldwell was a good coach.
All right.
He's a good coach, yes.
And Matt went to the playoffs twice with Jim Caldwell.
Yep.
Oh, he didn't have any players. And Ndamukong Suh was a pretty good player. Would you say that on defense?
I'd say so.
Okay. Didn't he win a Super Bowl with Tampa last year? Oh, okay. Calvin Johnson, first ballot Hall of Famer.
He can catch a ball or two.
There you go. So my biggest point to people was, don't think he's the Messiah and he's so great. Peter King and other football guys, you talked about it. Chris, he's going to throw for 6,000 yards. He's going to be the MVP. You remember the Rams started the season 7-1.
Right.
7-1.
Everybody was in love with him.
Matt Stafford, I knew it. He just had to get away from that bad organization, the Lions. And yes, they won the division. They backed into it. Fine. They won it. I'm not going to take it away from them. But Jared Goff, when he was here, also won a couple of divisions as well. That's all I'm saying. I don't think he's that much different with this team and offense. And the other thing, too, Chris, they better get their defense figured out as well.
You're right. So, I bottom line, Rob, I'm not a believer at this point in the Rams. You know, I mean, they can beat Arizona. That could, I wouldn't be surprised.
It wouldn't even look. If Arizona beat them, it wouldn't even surprise me.
It wouldn't shock me. Yeah,
you could have. I'm going to say right now, Stafford could have 2 bad interceptions and change the game. He could.
Absolutely.
One could be the Arizona gets a pick 6 that could change the entire game, and he's prone to that. Chris, we've seen him with 4 pick 6s this year.
So, Shannon Sharpe.
Yep.
If you recall, I first guessed this on Matt Stafford. I said he's not that guy. And slowly but surely, he is revealing himself to be not that guy, because he was never that guy, even when he had some weaponry around him, including that guy that you did talk about in Detroit. It never seemed to click and take off, right? Nope. And he has never won a playoff game, and now he's on one of the biggest stages in the sport, and he's starting to unravel right on time, right?
Yep.
I just think the lights are going to be too bright for him, and I'm going to say this again.
You better hope so.
I know so. I'm going to say once again, I believe that I would trust Jared Goff more in a playoff game.
No.
In a playoff game, more than I would Matt Stafford.
Well, Well, I was
Jared Goff got them to a Super Bowl and played okay in the Super Bowl.
Well, I know who not going to the Super Bowl.
Who?
I know somebody's season ended on Sunday.
Who?
About 3:30.
Really?
About 3:30 on Sunday.
Really?
I ain't calling no team no name, but you're going home.
Really? Well, now you're changing the subject off.
Don't you worry about this here. They're going to take care of the Cardinals.
Are they?
They're going to take care of the Cardinals.
Really?
You want some of that?
Well, I just might because the Cardinals took care of them and then some. The last time they visited.
No. But what did they do last time they saw y'all? Saw the Cardinals? You remember what they did out there?
That's not in the equation. We dodged that, right?
You better be glad you done. The Rams will take care of business on Sunday.
You really think so?
Yeah.
I might have a little something on old Kyler.
Kyler normally only plays well when he goes back to Dallas. And lately he ain't been Skip. He ain't been doing what he's supposed to be doing.
That is true.